What's up guys, Houndish here, and today we've got a huge preview for Season of the Deep, and the massive list of changes that Bungie have revealed coming in the next season. So we're going to get pretty deep into those changes today with a look at the activity calendar for the new season. There are also content teasers, and we've got info about new quests coming for Season 21, as well as brand new weapons, new armor, including armor mods, of course new aspects and build crafting changes, but there'll also be major adjustments to exotics, reworks for both armor and weapons. And on top of that, we have new exotic focusing details and rewards. Plus, we'll get economy changes, material updates, as well as a new approach to the seasonal vendor, a handful of other reward updates, including for PvP, Guardian ranks changes, accessibility improvements, and a lot more to speak about in the video. So, timestamps are down below for this one, and if you do enjoy the video, a rating or comment below really does help us out. But otherwise, let's get into it. Initially, Bungie have now teased the content for Season of the Deep, and we can see right here that it appears we will be returning to Titan, and in the background of that image we can see some new armor for the season, so probably the seasonal armor set. There's also a giant eye in the background, so who knows, this could be the giant Leviathan or worm that's known to live in the depths of Titan. And of course, also very important, Sloan returns, and they were the original vendor for the destination. And many players have pointed out, especially their right arm, appears to have taken visual effects, so it would be safe to assume that Sloan has been partially taken. So some very interesting story implications for the new content, and I'd love to get your thoughts about that down below. However, also in the story for next season, but actually connected to Lightfall, we're going to get a new quest where we learn about the nature of the Veil through Osiris's research and newly uncovered Ishtar Collective data. And while this piece of content will arrive in Season of the Deep, it'll actually be tied to Lightfall, so any players that own the Lightfall expansion will get access to it. One of the rewards for that quest is a new weapon, so it's this hand cannon right here, which was famously visible in the artwork for Lightfall, but never made it into the game. So it's going to be added in Season 21 for Lightfall owners. But additionally, through that quest, we'll get access to some new aspects. So the Hunter will get the Threaded Spectre aspect, and it reads, activate your class ability to leave behind a decoy woven from strand matter that draws the attention of nearby combatants. And after taking significant damage, or when combatants approach, the decoy detonates, dealing damage and releasing threadlings that seek out and attack nearby foes. There'll be one for Titans as well, which is Fletchered Storm. Obviously, these are strand-related aspects. And for the Titan, while sliding, we can activate the charged melee ability to leap into the air, knocking nearby targets away and dealing damage. Then while airborne, we can activate the charged melee again to launch a cluster of damaging, unraveling projectiles. And repeatedly activating that melee will chain additional throws. Then finally for Warlocks, there'll be the Wanderer, and tangles you throw attach to enemies and detonate into a suspending burst, and threadling final blows from that will create a tangle. So let us know which of those you're most looking forward to getting access to. Additionally, Bungie have outlined a series of changes for abilities across the entire game though, which we're not going to break down in this video because it is a massive list of updates, but if you want to check those out, many of them pertaining to 3.0 subclasses, I'll link a video down below. But moving on, let's talk about economy, vendors, and power. And Bungie have said that for the first time with Season of the Deep, they won't be increasing the power bands in Destiny 2, so the power floor remains at 1600, with the soft cap at 1750, the powerful cap at 1800, and the pinnacle cap will be 1810. So for players that hit the pinnacle cap during Season 20, they'll simply remain at that cap for Season 21. But another big change for the Season of the Deep is that Bungie have said it won't feature a vendor upgrade paradigm, so they're going to be changing up the system for vendor upgrades. We're not entirely sure what that will entail or whether they'll introduce any new elements, but they've essentially said that it will be noticeably different from what we've had in the bulk of other seasons in the past couple of years. So I'm looking forward to checking that out, but also on the subject of economy, the finest Matterweave and Rainmaker consumable items will be going away, so they won't drop from any other sources in the game. And Bungie say in any instance where we would have received a Finest Matterweave, we'll get one enhancement core instead, and Rainmakers will be replaced with a drop of 3000 Glimmer. But for existing instances of Finest Matterweaves, they'll be able to be dismantled for an enhancement core, where existing instances of Rainmaker will be dismantled for 3000 Glimmer. Those economy changes will also extend into the crafting economy, so firstly for Season 21, Bungie are adding the ability to electively activate Deep Sight on weapon instances to obtain pattern progress. And this will be done through a new mod slot, so to perform a Deep Sight activation on a weapon, we'll need a new currency called a Deep Sight Harmonizer, and non-raid weapons will cost 1 Harmonizer, while raid weapons will require 15 spoils of conquest in addition to that. And they've said the Deep Sight Harmonizer can be obtained through Season Pass rank rewards, so there'll be 3 of them in the free ranks, and another 3 in the paid ranks. That will be the only source of them for the initial rollout of the feature, so we're not going to have an absolute ton of them lying around, but it'll at least give us the option to use them on some weapons that we're struggling to perhaps get all of the patterns for. Bungie have said that not all weapon instances will be compatible with Deep Sight activation though, so they'll prevent us from activating Deep Sight for a weapon that already has a pattern unlocked, and weapons that previously had Deep Sight will be ineligible, as well as weapons purchased from raid vendors. Although they say weapons purchased from Xur and the Gunsmith will support Deep Sight activation. So it will basically be an optional way to turn a specific drop of a weapon into a Deep Sight version. But Bungie have also said there'll be additional changes to crafting costs, so the Legendary Shard cost will be removed from all crafting components, and enhanced weapon costs will be based on weapon masterwork costs, so they'll still require Legendary Shards, as they're not yet modifying the weapon masterwork economy for Season 21. But overall, that is a positive change, and while we won't be able to apply it to an absolute ton of weapons, it will definitely be useful for any weapons that we really want to get crafted and perhaps are struggling to get the specific patterns for. So we'll get that optional shortcut on some weapons, which is good, but also on the subject of weapons, there will be a few new Strand weapons coming into the game, as well as ritual and playlist weapon updates. So the Nightfall will get the return of the Braytech Osprey, which is a Void high impact rocket launcher, but they'll also reintroduce the loaded question with random rolls. And then for the Vanguard, we'll get the Positive Outlook Void Precision Auto Rifle, Gambit will get a brand new Strand Linear Fusion Rifle, and we'll see the return of Randy's Throwing Knife for the Crucible. Then for Trials of Osiris, Bungie have previewed a new Arc Glaive, and this is the Unexpected Resurgence. They'll also be reintroducing the Messenger, the High Impact Pulse Rifle, as well as adding a bunch of different flawless rewards, including a Ghost Shell, Ship, Sparrow, and even a new shader. Then the Iron Banner will receive a Strand Fusion Rifle, as well as the return of the Swarm of the Raven. And competitive will see the introduction of an Arc Sniper Rifle. So a bunch of playlist weapon updates right there which are positive, and we'll talk more specifically about some of the PvP changes in a couple of moments. But other weapon changes include that Bungie will be doing a sweeping rework of weapon hipfire reticles, and they'll be able to display more information about accuracy, aim assist, charge state, and exotic perk state. We'll also see an aggressive frame SMG nerf, a 10% PvE buff to sniper rifle damage, and pretty excitingly they've said there'll be buffs and adjustments to more than a dozen exotic weapons, which will include Graviton Lance and Salvation's Grip. It is likely that we'll get more details about those specific changes though before the launch of the season. However, moving to armor, Bungie have said we'll get some new armor mods, so firstly, there'll be Powerful Attraction, and when using the class ability, you collect all orbs of power within a radius determined by the number of copies of the mod we have equipped. On top of that, there'll be Elemental Charges, and collecting the subclass collectible associated with the damage type, like Fire Sprites, Ionic Traces, Stasis Shards, and so on, will have an escalating chance to grant you a stack of armor charge. And with Strand, that's going to be granted by destroying Tangles, so a couple of potentially pretty decent mods right there. And when they revealed this, they also said they have a change coming to the Shoot to Loot weapon perk, and it will be enabled to pick up orbs of power in addition to ammo boxes moving forward. So share your thoughts about those down below. And here, let's get on to exotic and armor focusing. And firstly, Bungie have also said that they're upgrading more than 15 of the lower performing exotic armors and rolling out balance changes to several others. So those will be joining the weapon updates that we heard about a moment ago. Plus, as Bungie have said, we'll be getting the introduction of exotic armor focusing. So all exotic engrams, aside from drops from activities that award specific exotics like Lost Sectors and the Vex Strike Force, will no longer auto-decrypt, but instead will sit in the engram inventory and can be focused at 2 different tiers. So there'll be advanced decryption, and we can focus an exotic engram to a specific entitled release, and those are for specific expansions, so Shadowkeep, Beyond Light, Witch Queen, or Lightfall. And the cost to do that will be 1 exotic engram, an Ascendant Shard, and 30,000 Glimmer. But additionally, they'll have precision decryption, and we can directly focus a specific exotic armor piece. Obviously, that will be really useful if you want to get a good stat roll or something like that on a specific armor, but Bungie have said that it will incur a higher cost, so it'll be 1 exotic engram, 3 Ascendant Shards, and 60,000 Glimmer, as well as an exotic cipher. They also say they plan to raise the exotic cipher stack limit from 1 to 5. So obviously it's really good functionality to have. It will be pretty expensive, but will be a very, very targeted way to get specific exotic armor pieces with improved chances at the kind of rolls that we're looking for. So share your thoughts about that, and of course it's worth trying to get some of those materials in the next couple of weeks as we approach the launch of the season. But in relation to exotics that drop from dungeons and raids, Bungie have said in Season 21 they're adding boosted triumphs to legacy content with randomly dropped exotic weapons. So for the Vault of Glass, for instance, the increased drop rate that's unlocked via various triumphs in other activities will essentially be applied to that older activity. And the good thing is that many of those triumphs are retroactive, so if you've already done a bunch of the raid triumphs for VOG, for example, many of those will be giving an increased chance to get the exotic drop. Also though, Bungie are introducing a new Arbalist ornament on the subject of exotics right here, and this was the one that the community voted on many months ago. So it's cool to finally get that in the game, and give us your thoughts about it down below. Now though, moving on, we have a bit of a ritual schedule for the new season. So Bungie have outlined that in week 1 of Season 21, they're going to be running Trials of Osiris, and this is partially enabled by the fact that there isn't a power cap raise of any sort in Season 21, so the playing field will be pretty level for current players. And also for week 4 of Season 21, Grandmaster Nightfalls will become available. And again, without the seasonal power climb, the playing field is going to be relatively level. Although that does only apply to the weekly Grandmaster, and the Conqueror Guilding node will be launched on week 7 of Season of the Deep. But the positive is that there's less of a gap before those activities return. Next though, Bungie have given a bit of information about how Guardian ranks are going to work moving into a new season. So they've said that players should be able to represent their accomplishments across a whole season, and the goal is that players who've previously completed a Guardian rank should be able to renew that rank quickly in a new season. So the rank displayed to everyone will reflect your highest rank earned last season, and if you achieve a higher rank than you did in the previous season, it will be your new displayed number. Players can renew their previously completed ranks by only completing blue-tinted categories in the Guardian rank progression screen, and they add that other categories will not reset, and ranks that you do not renew will fade at the end of a season. Additionally though, commendation counts will be reset each season to reflect your experience with the newest content, so your commendation score and breakdown will be tracked each season, and you'll only lose a percentage of your commendation score each season, rather than having it completely reset. So I think that's a positive, and also in Season 21, they say they're adding a new display to the journey screen that will show your recent seasonal history. That'll include Guardian ranks, commendation score, commendation breakdown, seasonal challenges, and triumph score. On top of that, they've said that currently planned for Season 21 is that returning players will start at rank 5, and ranking up from 5 to 7 will be faster than it was to rank up from 6 to 7 at launch. And also, again, rank renewal will be fast-tracked, so most players will have quickly renewed rank 7 by playing seasonal content, earning new artifact power, completing seasonal challenges, and trying out the newest exotics. So a bunch of interesting ways to transition into a new season in terms of Guardian ranks and commendations there. Very finally on that subject though, they've said objectives to receive leadership commendations in ranks 10 and 11 will be retroactive for the season. So raids and dungeons that you lead from day 1 will count towards that progress. Share your thoughts on those down below, guys. But here, briefly for PvP, there aren't an absolutely massive number of changes, but in Season of the Deep we will see the return of the Meltdown PvP map, and of course that was the Clovis Bray Mars map. And at the start of Season 21, for competitive, the Rose hand cannon will be replaced by a new competitive division-only sniper rifle. They say the plan is to add new weapons to competitive every other season, and they add that Rose will also return in a future season, but will be unobtainable during Season 21. In addition to that, Lord Shaxx will have a new Season 21 Ascendant emblem, and when they do that, they will retire the one from the previous season. And additionally, Shaxx will have a Transman effect for all players who reach Silver 3 or above. And not only is the Transman effect the first one that you can earn directly through gameplay, but it also uses some new tech so that it can change its appearance based on the current competitive division rank. So the rank icons will actually be displayed as part of that Transman effect, which is pretty cool. Of course, in addition to those changes, there are the Trials adjustments that we've spoken about previously, and the new Trials rewards that we mentioned a moment ago. So at least a bit of movement and a few improvements right there for PvP reward systems. And for the moment, the very final thing we have to talk about are changes for accessibility. So Bungie have said for Season 21, they're adding an enemy-targeted reticle color, and that's a setting designed to complement the current reticle color setting by allowing players to select the hue of the hipfire reticle, specifically when hovering over an enemy. But additionally, there'll be a new full auto melee setting, and the upcoming change allows players to have full auto mode for melee weapons, including swords and glaives, but also powered melee, unpowered melee attacks, and roaming super melees. So the setting will repeat the melee attack whenever it's available, as long as the melee or fire button is held. That'll be an interesting one and of course useful for a bunch of players. Plus they'll be adding a new subtitle color option, so subtitle text colors will be able to be adjusted. And they say the text color setting has changed from a carousel to a drop-down menu, and tinted reticles have been added to replace the text so players can preview the color exactly as they'll see it before making a selection. And there'll be two variations of the yellow color option, and one is essentially a true full color yellow, while the other is sort of a faded yellow color. So some pretty great adjustments right there for accessibility in the game as well. And for the moment, guys, that covers the significant majority of changes coming for Season 21 that we know about. And as seasons go, this is going to be a fairly significant one in terms of adjustments, additions to the game, quality of life improvements, and general system improvements. So share your thoughts about them down below, and I thought a quick preview rounding up a bunch of the kind of scattered changes that Bungie have spoken about might be pretty useful for you guys. So if you've enjoyed this one, a rating below really does help us out. Once again, share your thoughts, and if you want to see more Destiny content and be kept up to date with everything related to that new launch, definitely get subscribed and turn on notifications so I can keep you up to date. Otherwise though, as always, I very much appreciate you guys tuning in, and whatever you get up to, I hope you have an awesome day.